in the boundless expanse of heaven, where time itself had yet to be measured and the cosmos shimmered with the first light of creation, a story began that would echo through eternity. Before the world was formed, before the stars found their place in the night, there lived an angel of unparalleled brilliance, whose very presence illuminated the heavens. His name was Lucifer, the morning star, the most radiant of all God's creations, a being whose beauty and wisdom surpassed that of any other celestial being. He was the embodiment of divine light, a living testament to God's infinite power and love, and his very existence was a reflection of the Creator's boundless imagination. His wings shimmered with a celestial glow, each feather catching the light of 1,000 suns, and his voice resonated with the music of the spheres, harmonizing with the very heartbeat of heaven. Angels looked upon him with awe, drawn to his wisdom and grace, seeking his guidance and basking in the warmth of his presence. Among the countless hosts of heaven, none shone brighter, none inspired more devotion or admiration than Lucifer, whose every word seemed touched by divine insight. Lucifer was God's right hand, entrusted with great responsibility and power, a leader among angels and a steward of celestial order. He moved among the heavens, his heart overflowing with love for his Creator, his every action a song of praise and gratitude. His days were filled with celestial hymns and joyous pronouncements of God's glory, the air alive with celebration and the purest forms of worship. He was the epitome of divine perfection, or so it seemed, a flawless creation in a realm untouched by sorrow or doubt. Yet, as the ages passed, a subtle shift occurred within Lucifer's heart, a change so faint that even the wisest angels could not perceive it at first. The seed of pride, so small at first it was barely noticeable, began to take root, hidden beneath layers of devotion and beauty. He, who had been crafted in the image of perfection, began to see his own reflection in the eyes of his admirers, and a new awareness stirred within him. The whispers of almost as great and second only to God began to sound less like praise and more like pronouncements of his rightful place, feeding a longing he had never known before. Questions began to form in the quiet corners of his mind, questions about his purpose, his destiny, and the true nature of his own greatness. The love he had for God, once pure and unconditional, became tinged with a hint of resentment, a shadow cast by the brilliance of his own light. He saw the vastness of God's power, the boundless nature of his love, and a part of him, a small, insidious part, yearned for that power, craved that adoration for himself. And so the first cracks appeared in the perfection of heaven, setting the stage for a story that would change the fate of angels and mortals alike. Lucifer, once the most devoted and radiant among the angels, now felt a growing distance between himself and his Creator. The connection that once filled him with purpose and joy seemed to wane, replaced by a subtle ache of longing and confusion. He observed the other angels, their existence seemingly effortless in their devotion. They moved in perfect harmony, their faces aglow with unwavering faith, untouched by doubt or restlessness. He, on the other hand, felt the weight of his own brilliance, the burden of his near perfection. His gifts, once a source of pride, now felt isolating, setting him apart from his brethren. He began to question God's plan, to see flaws in the celestial order. Why was he, so uniquely gifted, not given a greater purpose? Why should he, Lucifer, with all his splendor and might, be subservient? Was his brilliance not a sign that he was meant for more? Why should any being, no matter how great, be above him? The questions echoed in his mind, growing louder with each passing day. The whispers grew louder, fueled by his own unspoken desires. They slithered through his thoughts, feeding his pride and uncertainty. "Why not you, Lucifer?" they seemed to hiss. "Why should you not rise above all others? Are you not as worthy as he?" The question lingered, haunting him, challenging the very foundation of his loyalty. And with each whisper the seed of rebellion within him grew stronger, threatening to blossom into something dark and terrible. The light around him seemed to dim, shadows creeping ever closer. Lucifer's discontent spread, a subtle poison in the celestial air. The harmony of heaven began to tremble as if sensing the storm to come. He began to share his doubts with other angels, questioning God's judgment, subtly suggesting that they too deserved more. His words, laced with charisma and conviction, planted uncertainty in their hearts. He painted a picture of a new order, one where they would no longer be mere servants but rulers in their own right, a vision that promised freedom, power, and glory beyond anything they had ever known. Lucifer's words, laced with his own bitterness and pride, found fertile ground among some of the angels. They had long admired him, had been swayed by his brilliance. Now his doubts became their doubts, his ambition their own. One by one, angels began to flock to his banner. They saw in him a champion, someone who understood their own unspoken desires for autonomy and power. They were tired of blind obedience, of singing endless praises while their own potential remained untapped. The heavens, once filled with the harmony of perfect unity, became a place of whispers and dissent. The angels were divided, some remaining steadfast in their loyalty to God, others swayed by Lucifer's promises of freedom and power. The rebellion culminated in a cataclysmic battle, a clash of celestial beings the likes of which the universe had never seen. Angels fought angels, their celestial weapons flashing, their cries of fury echoing through the heavens. The battle raged, a maelstrom of light and darkness, but God, in his infinite power, could not be defied. He stood firm against Lucifer's rebellion, his light a beacon against the encroaching shadows. With a voice that shook the very foundations of heaven, God declared Lucifer and his followers vanquished. Cast out of heaven, they were banished to the void, stripped of their divine grace, their celestial light extinguished. Lucifer, once the radiant morning star, fell further than any angel had fallen before. The light that had once emanated from him was gone, replaced by a cold, consuming darkness. He looked upon his followers, their faces twisted in despair, and felt a pang of something akin to regret. But it was quickly consumed by a burning rage, a hatred for the God who had cast him out, for the heaven that had been his home, for the angels who had remained loyal. The void became Lucifer's new domain, a desolate realm of eternal darkness and torment. Here the silence was absolute, broken only by the echoes of his own anguish. The world he once knew was gone, replaced by a cold emptiness that stretched on forever, a prison of his own making. Here, stripped of his former glory, he became something else entirely. The radiance that once defined him faded, leaving only a shadow of the angel he had been. His wings, once magnificent, now hung in tatters, and the pride that filled his heart was replaced by a burning sense of loss. He was no longer Lucifer, the light-bearer, but Satan, the adversary. The transformation was not just physical but spiritual, a complete rebirth into something darker, more powerful, and infinitely more dangerous. The pain of his fall, the bitterness of his defeat, twisted his very essence. Every memory of heaven became a torment, fueling his rage and sorrow. The agony of betrayal and the sting of rejection burned within him, reshaping his soul into something unrecognizable. He became a being of pure malice, his heart filled with an unquenchable thirst for vengeance. Hatred became his sustenance, and the desire to strike back at those who cast him down grew with every passing moment. He would have his revenge on God, even if it meant destroying everything he had created. The thought of rebellion became his only comfort, a single burning purpose in the endless night. He gathered his fallen brethren, their forms twisted and corrupted by the darkness, and he promised them power, promised them dominion over a new kingdom. Together, they would rise from the ashes, united by their shared suffering and their thirst for retribution. He would build his own throne from the ashes of his defeat, a kingdom where he would reign supreme. In this new realm, he would forge his own destiny, no longer bound by the rules of heaven. He would show God, show all of heaven that he was not to be trifled with. His defiance would echo through eternity, a warning to all who dared oppose him. He would show them that it was better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. And so, from the depths of despair, Satan rose, determined to carve out his own legacy in the shadows, forever challenging the light he once embodied. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. The words echoed through the desolate wasteland that was Satan's new domain. They were words of defiance, of bitter pride, a testament to his unwavering will. He would not bow, would not submit. He would rule his own kingdom, even if it was a kingdom of shadows and despair. He would be master of his own fate, even if it meant eternal damnation. His followers, now demons under his command, set about building his infernal kingdom. They carved fortresses out of the living rock, forged weapons in the heart of volcanoes. The air crackled with malevolent energy, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and Satan, seated upon his obsidian throne, surveyed his new domain with a mixture of pride and loathing. He was a king in exile, a ruler of a kingdom built on hate and despair, but it was his kingdom and he would rule it with an iron fist. Lucifer's fall, his transformation into Satan, serves as a chilling reminder of the price of defiance. It is a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of pride, the intoxicating allure of power. Lucifer, the most radiant of angels, was not content with his place in the divine order. He craved more, desired equality with the one who had created him. This insatiable ambition blinded him to the truth, leading him down a path of rebellion and despair. His story is not simply a tale of good versus evil, it is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition, the corrosive nature of pride. Lucifer's fall demonstrates that even the most brilliant and beautiful of beings can be corrupted by their own desires. It is a reminder that true freedom lies not in rebellion but in surrendering to something greater than ourselves. The story of Lucifer's fall is not just an ancient myth, it is a mirror reflecting our own capacity for darkness. We all harbor within us the seeds of pride, the potential for envy and ambition. Like Lucifer, we can be tempted to elevate ourselves above others, to crave power and recognition. We can become so fixated on our own desires that we lose sight of what truly matters: love, compassion, and humility. Lucifer's story serves as a warning to us all. It reminds us to be vigilant against the whispers of pride, to guard our hearts against the allure of power. It teaches us that true fulfillment comes not from dominating others, but from serving something greater than ourselves. It is a call to humility, a reminder that we are all flawed beings in need of grace. Lucifer's fall is a tragedy, but it is also a story of free will. God created Lucifer with the capacity for love, but also with the freedom to choose his own path. In the end, Lucifer chose darkness over light, pride over humility. His story reminds us that we too have been given the gift of free will. We can choose to follow in his footsteps, to let our desires consume us, or we can choose a different path. We can choose to embrace humility, compassion, and love. We can strive to use our gifts and talents not for our own glory but for the betterment of humanity. The choice is ours, each and every day. We can choose to be a force for good in the world, or we can succumb to the darkness within. Let us choose wisely.